Welcome to Roofing Road Trips, the podcast that takes you on a thrilling journey across the world of roofing. From fascinating interviews with roofing experts to on-the-road adventures, we'll uncover the stories, innovations, and challenges that shape the rooftops over our heads. So fasten your seatbelts and join us as we embark on this exciting roofing road trip.
Hello, this is Heidi Ellsworth. Welcome to Roofing Road Trips from Roofers Coffee Shop. Today, we are very excited to be in a unique and special place, and that is at the Elevate Master Contractors meeting in Nassau, Bahamas. Wow, look at this audience. This is quite the roofing road trip, and we are actually on the road with our roofing road trip. So before we get started, please, everyone know that this is available on your favorite podcast channels, and we will be taking you there live today with our guests in our panel. So let's get started. First of all, I would love to introduce Michelle Boykin with Rackley Roofing. Michelle, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company?
Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Michelle Boykin. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Rackley Roofing out of Nashville, Tennessee. I am also a past chair of National Women in Roofing, which is a title that Heidi actually started. She was the very first one, started that organization, so thank you for that. And then I also sit on the board for the NRCA, so try to be as involved as I can in the industry.
I love it. Michelle, we've done a lot together.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. Chuck Chapman, can you introduce yourself and tell us about your company?
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Chuck Chapman. I am the president of Tecta America, Arizona in Phoenix, Arizona. We are the Arizona branch of Tecta America. I'm a proud member of National Women in Roofing and have been since the beginning. I have served as past president and president at Western States Roofing Contractors Association. I'm the current chairman for the Davis Memorial Foundation, and Heidi is also one of my trustees, which is absolutely fabulous. And I'm also on the board of directors at NRCA.
Yeah, such involvement. Then we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about being involved and how important that is. And Kim, I know you introduced yourself a little bit earlier, but for this podcast and for everyone out there listening to this podcast, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role in Elevate?
Yes, thank you so much for having me here today. So Kim Eckerman, I am the Vice President of Marketing and Communications for Elevate. I've been in the roofing industry for nearly 2 decades, and I'm one of the founding members of National Women in Roofing, and ensured that we've been active no matter where I've been in the roofing industry with that group, and was honored with one of their Diamond Awards last year.
You were.
So very excited about that, and happy to be here this morning.
Kim, thank you. And I want to say thank you from everyone out there listening to this podcast for you bringing the roofing road trip here and letting us celebrate and have this great conversation. So what our goal is for all of you to take home a little something, a nugget to take home. So we're going to have some conversations around issues that are in our challenges, opportunities in the roofing industry. And you already have heard a number of them from some of the amazing presentations we've already had this morning. But today we're going to start with the labor shortage. And we're going to kind of talk about what are some of the opportunities, what are some of the challenges. And so actually I'm going to start, Chuck, with you. If you can talk a little bit about your market and what you as a company are doing to work on with the labor shortage.
Well, I think the first thing that we have to recognize, and that was difficult for me to accept and understand about the labor market, is first of all, it's changed in terms of the type of people that we have out there. Generational changes are huge. Recruiting Gen Zers, as opposed to how we recruited baby boomers, is totally different. You've got a total different mindset in the type of worker and what they're looking for and what makes them happy and what motivates them. So we have had to change exactly how we're recruiting. And once you get onto that and you start realizing that, it's really helpful in being able to be successful at recruiting.
Yeah, recruiting, that is so important. How many can think back? I heard earlier that there are people who have been here 38 years at this conference, and how much has changed and how much the reputation of roofing has changed. And Michelle, Rackley's been a leader on that. So talk a little bit about what you're doing to recruit and retain the folks who work with you.
So I think it's great that it's already been mentioned here today, and I think that it's great that Elevate's been so involved in Skills USA. That's one of the big things for us this year. We've gotten heavily involved in trying to recruit kids, because part of the issue that we've had is generationally, we've said, okay, you've got to go to college, and we've lost an entire generation of people because of that. So what Skills USA is doing is it's saying, okay, let's take high schoolers, and even in some cases middle schoolers, and teach them about a trade. Let's teach them something that they can actually take and use as they're adults. So we're actually training 2 high schoolers at our facility right now. They come in twice a week on their own time, and they are training on how to roof, which is really cool. So the more that we can get involved in those sorts of things, and again, like the roofing day in DC, those are things that we can do as an industry to change what roofing looks like and make it cool to the next generation. Seeing these kids learn, it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
And being there at Skills USA and seeing the competitors, all the competitors are doing commercial roofing. They're doing heat welding right there as you come down amongst all these other trades. It is inspirational. I got goosebumps there for a minute talking about it.
Yeah. And then also, looking, as Chuck said, looking at your organization differently. I mean, clearly we're in a room full of mostly men, which is great. There's no problem with that. But also looking at having women get on the roof. We've got women that are on the roof every day. And so just opening your horizons for that is important as well.
Yeah, 50% of the population, we need to bring them in. Kim, Elevate has a leading sponsor. I'm lucky enough to be on the NRCA, on the CTE, and have been leading that, getting our sponsors.
Yes.
Everybody's always gets a little worried about me showing up, but Elevate just was like that. Immediately, yes, we want to do Skills USA. It's so involved. Talk about how important it is as the manufacturing and the contracting to work to get this next generation involved.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just makes sense for us to have these partnerships. This is our industry. We need to work to protect it. We need to work together to grow it. And, as you were saying, we have this new generation coming into it. We want them to come into roofing.
Yeah.
It's a great way to make a good living. And, we need these skilled workers. And so connecting with Skills USA and what they're doing just made absolute sense. So we've been very excited to make a generous donation of product throughout their network of training facilities for what they're doing so that these kids can come in and they can learn how to install commercial roofing, just like Michelle was talking about. And they do, their faces light up. They love this work. Yeah. So getting them exposed to it early, making sure they understand it, getting them connected with a great network of potential mentors to bring them into the industry. It's so important, and we're really excited to get to be a part of that.
And it's not just about the kids who make it or the young people who make it to that national competition. It's about every single young person who's being associated with it. And Chuck, you are, in every local area and for your companies, you're very involved, and so is ARCA, Arizona Roofing Contractors. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I first of all, I want to thank Elevate for their participation in Skills USA. We couldn't do what we're doing without your help, so we really appreciate that a lot. And the competition is one thing, and the competition is really a lot of fun, and it's really what the kids are aiming for. But, from my point of view, it's more the journey along the way. We started working with our school back in September, right after the kids got back to school, and we started with 10. We still have 6, and we're just about a month and a half away from the state competition in Arizona, so it's still fantastic. Not only that, I just got an email yesterday from the CTE coordinator at Mesa High, where the school I'm working with, and she said, hey, are you going to be willing to sponsor us next year? And I said, well, of course. I said, why? What's going on? She said, I've got 17 year one students that all want to be involved, and this isn't even until next year. So, it's just absolutely fantastic that these kids are getting this fired up and this interested in our industry.
Chuck, I want you to go one step further too, because Mesa just won a grant. Tell us a little bit about that grant and what we can do as a roofing association.
Well, I want to give credit where credit is due. Heidi suggested that Western States, and more importantly, the Davis Foundation, adopt a Skills USA scholarship. So we did that this year. We gave out 2 $2,500 scholarships to 2 different schools that are participating in Skills USA. And we're very proud of that, and hopefully we can give out more money next year.
Yeah, so shameless plug for everyone who belongs to an association, either in the audience or listening to this podcast, you can give money to the vocational schools. You can set up these same kind of things, and the Davis Foundation will help you do that. So, okay, let's move just a little bit to technology. So we're kind of hitting some of the hot spots in this podcast, obviously labor shortage and all the great things that are going there. But for the contracting companies, things are changing so fast. Michelle, Rackley Innovator of the Year, and you have been involved with RT3 Roofing Technology Think Tank from the very beginning. Talk to us about the importance of really embracing and leaning into new technologies.
Yeah, you have to. But to start, I think being involved in the industry, being involved in things like RT3, being involved in peer groups or, your state and local chapters of things that you have going on helps you learn from other people. I actually had a guy come up to me during the break. I met with his sons at NRCA about what kind of software to use. Yeah. And he's like, hey, we didn't go with the one that you mentioned, but we went with this other one, and here's why. But you never know what sort of those connections are going to do. So make sure that you're talking to people about what they're doing, because what better information are you going to get than from the people that are in this room, the people that are in your industry that are doing it every single day. So for us, when we start a new technology or bring a new software in, it has to start from the top. So if I don't believe in it, I can't ask the next person to believe in it as well. And you have to make sure that training starts from the beginning. Not that I have to be the expert on everything, but I need to understand what the why is behind it so that everybody else within the company is going to learn how to use it. And that's the most important thing, I think.
And I talking to someone who's already using it, and whether it's owner to owner or whether it's getting your operations folks together to really share what's working, that I always say at Roofers Coffee Shop is we're doing these things. Contractors want to hear from contractors, right? That's what they want to hear. So Chuck, talk to us about your tech stack, kind of what you're doing technology-wise.
Well, you're talking to somebody who actually started with pen and paper and a pager. Right? And I mean, that was the limit of the technology because that's all we had. We didn't even have fax machines. So as my career has gone on, I've been able to see all of the new tech changes, the things that have come along. I mean, once we started using computers, I remember my first IBM 8088 to do an estimate on it. It was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And we got cell phones and fax machines and the internet.
You mean no more payphones?
Oh my goodness, yeah, a roll of quarters, and every time you got a pager, it was 911. So, but the innovation that we see almost daily now is absolutely fantastic, and it makes us much more efficient at doing our job, and we're much more accurate, and just being able to do things in a much more compressed time frame and be much more efficient and probably even more accurate in terms of how we're doing it is absolutely fantastic. And I'm really happy that I'm surrounded by a group of very talented young people that are always bringing new ideas almost daily and saying, hey, we're not using this, but I learned about that, and it's like Bluebeam, and it's like Bluebeam. Oh my God, Bluebeam is my new best friend. It's just really exciting to be a part of the industry now when we've got these new things coming in almost daily.
And I kind of want to hit on that because I think that's really important. It's one of the things actually I've learned sometimes the hard way, and luckily most of the time it's been really easy, but embracing that next generation around technology, and whether that's as an owner and really understanding that you have to listen about these new technologies and make changes, or if it's maybe older generation, younger generation pairing. And I know you do that a lot, right, Michelle?
Yeah, we do. I was actually joking the other day. We were having a meeting and we were trying to figure out how can we better communicate with our staff. We've tried using our payroll software, we've tried Teams, we've tried email, text, whatever. You've got all these different platforms that you're using, and what works for one person may not work for the next. And I said, well, maybe we should just do like a TikTok thing, and that's how we get everything out, because that seems to be the newest fad for the generation. I'm sure Megan will say that it's something different now. I don't know. But, figuring out what it is, how they communicate, because how I communicate, and, there's not a huge age difference in us up here, but even how I communicate and how Chuck communicates are going to be different.
Right.
But even the next generation and the next generation. So paying attention to that to make sure that we're speaking their language is important.
I think so. And Kim, you and I have worked together a lot. Even before Elevate, we've worked together for many, many years. You have been instrumental everywhere you've done in your career in bringing solutions to contractors, and a big part of that has been technologies. Talk a little bit about really that relationship with your manufacturer and how important that is.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think we as manufacturers, we work to be on the leading edge of those things. We need to understand, again, how you're communicating, with your employees, also with your customers, how we can help you to make those connections. It's so crucial to us to know and have that awareness. And, as Chuck was saying, things are changing rapidly right now. We've got to stay ahead of this. There's no better time than now to figure out what technologies you can be implementing and how you can be doing those. The longer you wait, the further behind you get. I think that probably goes without saying. But for us, it's been important to have, associations, partnerships, sponsorships with things such as Roofers Coffee Shop. You do such a great job of bringing together the information that the industry needs to know and understand about what is the latest tech that's available to them. It's why it's important for us to have that association and affiliation, because we know that that's where our contractors are going to get that information as well. And you help to bring that together and make those things so available and easily there for them to find.
Well, research and data drives everything.
Absolutely.
Right? And so where in the past, maybe it was we do a trend survey every year, and it's that research, that online information continues every year to grow and grow and grow. Even in an industry that is sometimes a little slow to adopt or adapt. But I think using resources like Roofing Technology Think Tank, which a lot of contractors are involved in, but it's all free. Free resources, solution directories. Thank you. And Roofers Coffee Shop has full directories of all of those different software companies. Research, I think, leads the way in trying to figure out and then talking to each other, right?
I mean, how many people in this room go to dinner and the first thing you do is go on Google and see what the review is, or go to Yelp and see what the review is?
Right.
Even like Uber Eats, I'm going, okay, well, I'm not going to eat there. I'm not going to get that for lunch today because it's got a 4-star, not a 5-star, whatever that looks like. It's the same for roofing. You want to make sure that you've done your research. You know that the product that you're using is good. You know that the software that you're using is going to work for what you want and not what you think you want. And really just digging deep and really talking to somebody about, here's what issues I've had with software, because we've all realized that there's no software out there that is a one-size-fits-all for everybody. Mm-hmm. But what works for you, and how can you implement that best in your company?
Yeah, so true. So I'm going to bring up another topic. We have 2 more topics, but I'm going to throw one in there. And these guys should be used to that. I kind of do this sometimes, but I just have to follow Frank's lead, because Roofing Day is so important, and immigration right now. So if you were at the International Roofing Expo last week, there were a lot of conversations about what is happening with immigration and ICE. And so I want to talk about Roofing Day and how important that is for our voices being heard. So Chuck, I'm going to start with you, talking through that and just how important it is to kind of, as working either with your associations, your business, however, to get involved, to really have a voice from the roofing industry.
Well, Reed really got this started when he was the executive director at NRCA, and he came from the standpoint of, he was in the house for 6 years. So he knows what it's like to be approached by these other industries. And what he shared was, the electricians, the plumbers, the general contractors, they showed up at the legislature in mass. So their voices were being heard, but the roofing industry wasn't. So that's why we started Roofing Day. And that is why it is so important to show up and to be heard and to be, visiting with your local legislators. And that's why it's such a big thing to have everybody from across the country, so that we can be touching all the legislators from all the different states and get that unified voice across to our politicians, so that we can get the things done that we need. And immigration, as everybody knows, is huge for our industry. It's huge for construction in general. But the things that are going on now is really going to be affecting us, positive and negative. But it is very, very important now more than ever for us to join together as a unified force, a unified industry, and get that message sent from a unified front.
Yeah. Michelle, you've attended I think it scares some people sometimes, right? Oh man, I'm going to meet this congresswoman or congressman. What am I going to say? Are they going to think I'm that smart? I'm from roofing. But it's totally different, isn't it?
It is, and I think part of the thing that's important is the more people that show up, the easier that is. It's kind of like if you're going to a new event and you know 5 people, it's a lot easier than if you walk in the room and you don't know anybody. So the more people that go, the easier that is. But the NRCA does a great job of sort of listing out what the topics are. We go in with, I think that the term is one voice. So we're going in as an industry. Here's what we want changed or kept the same or whatever that looks like. And they give you sort of talking points. So you're not walking in blind. You know what you're talking about. If you do the research even further, you can even speak sort of their legal language or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But no, it's a one-on-one conversation a lot of times. But the more people that you have in the room, I have seen, at least for our representatives, the more likely you're going to be talking to the representative and not their staff. Yeah. So if you've got a large group, chances are they're going to listen. If you happen to go, make sure that you mention how many people work for your company, because that represents families. Mm-hmm. And that's important to them because that's their constituents. So make sure that you're talking about, hey, my company employs 200 plus people, whatever that looks like for your organization. Make sure you're mentioning that.
Yeah. And I tell you what, it has made a difference. I have to tell one quick story. The first roofing day ever, as I was walking through the rotunda and there was multiple layers going up of offices, senators' offices, all of a sudden I saw a red roofing day folder flying down from the very top. And I'm like, oh, the roofing industry's here. We are there. But it makes a difference, and it has made a difference with immigration. And that's something that's hard to even get a little bit of a foothold into. But it's made a huge difference with the Main Street taxes and also CTE. So every voice is needed to go. And there's nothing better than a first-timer. Mm-hmm. So Kim, you're going to be going for the first time. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm excited to go this year. Myself and our Senior Vice President of Sales, Frank Palmer, will both be there along with some of our fellow colleagues from Elevate. It means everything to us to be there, to have that representation, to be well informed on the things the potential legislation that has impacts for our industry. Frank mentioned 2 of those topics this morning. You just hit on them again with the Perkins CTE grant, trying to grow those funds that are available to continue to bring kids in and get them into the skilled workforce, and the extension of the Main Street Tax Act, right, and the implications that has for everybody in this room potentially. Right. So being informed about those means everything. Getting to be there and be a part of it, I'm really looking forward to it. I've heard wonderful things about this, and just being able to have that industry representation, especially for Elevate, right? As your manufacturer partner of choice, it's important for us to be there.
Yeah, and I tell you what, if you're planning on going, plan on staying an extra day, because Durable Slate, one of our leading roofing companies of historic buildings in DC, gives an architectural walk, and it's an architectural walk of roofs. I mean, how often do you get that? So it's pretty phenomenal, and NRCA just does a great job. Kim, I want to applaud your team on the earlier information that they shared about where we are with the economy, where we are with product, where the industry is. I was just like, wow, this is just so amazing. So I would love to have, I'm going to start with you, Michelle, kind of your thoughts on both from what you're seeing on the products and the economy, but also in your area of Tennessee, and I think a little bit further you guys go, of what you're seeing for this year and how you're looking at differentiating your business. Because we saw some opportunity, but we saw some softness too. So what are you doing to kind of prepare?
I think first thing that we're doing is trying to not have PTSD from the material shortages. Anytime you hear like price increases from everybody, you kind of go, oh, here it comes, or oh, we don't know what's going to happen with the tariffs and all those sorts of things. So for us, it's sort of going, nope, we're prepared, we're going to be prepared, and here's how we're going to be prepared. So we've sort of set out a plan to make sure that we're ready in case shortages do happen. Hope they don't, but you're always going to be prepared for that. But also making sure that we're up to date on the latest technologies, what's the newest product line that's coming out, which comes down to relationships with our manufacturers. Yeah. So making sure that there's a trust there, that there's a relationship built there, which was talked about earlier this morning, but making sure that the communication is open and honest, and hey, we need help with this. Is there an innovative solution that we can have on a technical side of this to be more competitive versus, there's always the price and the labor and all that. But, how can we work through and be a real partner together?
Yeah. And it does differentiate you, who you're associated with. I think that is so true. Chuck, what are you looking at for your area for overall after seeing this information?
Well, there's a lot of unknowns right now. There's a lot of things happening very, very quickly. And what is going to be the long-term effect of those changes is the jury's still out, right? We really don't know how things are going to change and what the effects are going to be. So you have to be nimble. You have to be very, very long-range planning. You have to have your eyes wide open and be looking ahead to the future. You can't be just looking ahead to tomorrow. You can't be looking ahead to next week. You have to be thinking down the road. What if? What if? What are we going to do if this happens? What are we going to be doing if that happens? And be open to all options. Explore all opportunities. I'm personally very positive about what's going to be going on, but that's just my personal mentality. But you got to be looking further down the road rather than just into next week, because that's when those changes are going to start to happen, and we just don't know what they're going to be.
Chuck, we talked a little bit earlier about National Women in Roofing, but we also have a huge trend, or finally awakening, I'm going to call it an awakening, of our Spanish-speaking community, and really differentiating your business by bringing that in. We heard that a little bit earlier with the technical team from Elevate and how important that is. Talk a little bit about that, overall, those initiatives to kind of differentiate, open your business.
Well, for us, it's over 80% of our workforce. Right. The biggest thing that I've seen that the guys really respond to is embracing their family. That community is tremendously family oriented, so you have to respond and reach out to them so that they feel like they are part of a family. Incorporate their family into your family, and it seems to be a very, very positive effect on those guys in that respect.
Yeah, and I think that is part of differentiating your business, right? It seems like we talk just marketing, but really it's the culture of your business differentiates you out into the market as you go. And so before I have some thoughts, Kim, but I want to ask you, Michelle, on that same differentiation as what you're seeing, both, you mentioned women earlier, but also with the Spanish-speaking community.
Yeah, so we, for Rackley, we have an education specialist. He's OSHA 500 certified. He's got all the trainings. He's gone through, I'm going to mess it up, the pro trainer.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's not what it's called, but the NRCA program for training. He's done all of that, but he's bilingual. So we can do trainings in English and in Spanish. But aside from that, to go back to technology, how many people in the room actually speak Spanish?
A few.
A few.
hands.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't, it's okay. There is very, very cheap technology out there, not just your cell phone, that you can use to speak Spanish with your workforce. There's a product that I have, it's called and I speak Spanish. There's a product that I have that's called I'm going to mess it up, WTI Plus, I think is what it's called. You can get it on Amazon for like $100 or maybe $200. And it looks like AirPods. You put it in, and then you select actually the dialect that you're speaking. So if you're speaking to somebody from Guatemala, you can pick out Guatemalan Spanish, or if you're speaking to somebody from Mexico, you can pick out Mexican Spanish. And it will actually, specify the dialect, and it will translate in your ears real time. So you can carry on a conversation with your field staff much easier than, sort of the Google Translate where you put your phone up and then you put it down. So very cheap on Amazon. I don't get any money from that. Just a plug, shameless plug.
And there's your nugget right there. And you've been doing that for a couple of years.
Oh yeah, we've had it for probably 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it is phenomenal. So Kim, not too many people are better at marketing. I'm just going to say that. You are the leader in the industry when it comes to that. How is Elevate working with contractors to differentiate their business as we, to be ready for whatever may be happening in 2025 and 2026?
Yeah, a lot to come. So we were at the International Roofing Expo last week, and it was one of the best IREs I've ever attended. We had an overflowing booth for Elevate, But part of the reason was because we were doing product demonstrations right there within our booth and doing those in both English and Spanish.
Nice.
So important to be able to reach across all those audiences and make sure that the information that we have about our products, our trainings, our installations is available in both languages. And we, of course, working with our collateral pieces as well, making sure that we have the availability across both those in English and Spanish, and French as well for everyone in Canada. You heard from our, from some of our training group and our warranty as well. We work together internally to make sure that you have the service that you need, that you've got the quality products that you expect, and that we can listen and be ready to react for the things that you need. It's why we've been in this Master Contractor program and supporting this for nearly 4 decades. So you can imagine that we've learned a lot and grown a lot through that time. We know that you as contractors have as well. But I think that means that we have a wealth of knowledge about what it takes to help support you in your businesses, make sure you have those products that you need, and that we're providing the right support that it takes for you to continue to have the trust and know that the reliability is there and continue to grow your businesses as well. Whether that be, with adding women to your workforce, adding people Spanish speaking to your workforce, or just continuing to grow, with everything that you're doing. So
I'm going to give a little bit of a trick of the trade here. As contractors, whether you're listening to this podcast or sitting here in the audience, one of the secret sauces of this industry is working with the marketing teams of your manufacturers. They will help you write case studies. They will help you get video. They will help you get on Roofers Coffee Shop podcasts. They will help you do all of those things. And a lot of times, probably everyone in this room already knows that, but that is one of those tricks. And I'm going to go back to Michelle and Chuck on that, just on really that relationship and knowing who to go to, right? Whether it's marketing because you need help with your business that way, or the technical. How important is that, and how much has that differentiated your company, Michelle?
Well, again, a lot of times it has to do with your relationship. If you have a great relationship with your rep in your area, they're going to connect you to the right people. So if I said, hey, I've got a case study I want to do, then my rep is going to go, oh, well, Kim's your person, or whatever that needs to look like.
Yeah.
So making sure that you have those connections, and that's what this industry is about, is connections. I met Heidi 10 years ago, I don't know, 15, a long time ago. And, because of her, I got involved in National Women in Roofing. Because of that, I got involved in RT3. Because of that, we won Innovator of the Year. Because of that, we got involved in NRCA. Because of that, I'm sitting up on the stage, right? So all those things happen because of relationships and connections.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
Being willing to reach out and just say, hey, we want to take our business this way. Who can you connect us to? How do we do that? Because the roofing industry is so special, and I'm kind of speaking to the choir here. So, Chuck, how important are those relationships to you?
Oh, they're invaluable. I'll be the first one to admit I don't know everything. I don't even know half of everything. But I got a lot of people I can call that are going to get it done. Whether it's any of the people up here or a lot of these people in this room, involvement in associations, I can't push it enough, it's huge. Those networking opportunities, you can't really put it down on paper and what that ROI is, but the people and the contacts you make, just like Michelle was just talking about. She's gotten involved and done all these things because of all those networking opportunities and all the people that she's met. So it's priceless.
It is priceless. Kim, last thoughts.
Yeah, well, what an amazing opportunity this has been. We are so fortunate to have you available to come and do this live version of, your Roofers Coffee Shop podcast on the road here with us in the Bahamas. And I think, there's a lot of knowledge in this room. And so I think it's so important for us to be able to network together and connect and, share that knowledge across learning, whether it be from technology, what are you doing to solve, for your businesses with labor shortages. We're all facing the same issues. We're working with you as your manufacturing partner to try and help solve for those as well. And so, just really excited to have all the insights today to be able to share and, bring this group together.
I love it.
Very cool.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. This has been so amazing. I want to say thank you to Michelle and Chuck. Thank you for coming up to the stage and sharing your wisdom and knowledge. This is what it's really all about. And to all the podcasters out there right now who are listening, please visit the Elevate directory on Roofers Coffee Shop. For everyone sitting here, please visit the Elevate directory on Roofers Coffee Shop, along with the Skills USA directory, along with NRCA, Davis, RT3. You can find it all there. We are so proud to have this live podcast, and we will be coming to you throughout. We're going to be having all kinds of information out there on social media, so check it out. Thank you all for being involved with this podcast today. Woohoo! Thank you.
If you've enjoyed the ride, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us on every roofing adventure. Make sure to visit rooferscoffeeshop.com to learn more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next roofing road trip.